The movie begins with a girl named Ava, who returns to her hometown after being away for more than a year to attend her best friend Danica's engagement party. While getting ready, she chooses her prettiest dress and tries to lift her spirits because she knows she'll see her high school sweetheart, Milo, at the event. When Ava arrives, many guests are already there, and Danica is overjoyed to see her, especially since they're finally reunited after such a long time apart. As they talk, they glance at Danica's fiancé, Teddy, who happens to be the mayor's son and the biggest businessman in town. Standing beside Teddy is Milo, revealing that they're close friends. It's also clear Teddy knows about Ava and Milo's past relationship, and he even encourages Milo to go talk to her. Although Milo still has feelings for Ava, he pretends not to care and insists to Teddy that they're just friends, while Ava also tries to act uninterested in front of Danica. But Danica knows her friend still loves him. At that moment, Teddy's father, Grant, greets the guests and congratulates the couple on their engagement. Once the party ends, Teddy and Danica decide to take Ava and Milo on a trip outside the city to celebrate together. Before they leave, Ava and Danica spot their old school friend Stevie, who's now working for the event planning company, cleaning up the leftover decorations with her colleague. The moment Stevie sees them, memories flood back of how they all drifted away from her after college when her father ran off with all her tuition money, leaving her devastated and depressed. The hardship pushed her into addiction until she entered rehab, and after recovery, she started working any job she could to support herself. Feeling sympathetic, Teddy and Milo invite Stevie to join them on the trip. They see the trip as a good chance for Danica and Ava to mend their friendship with Stevie, though Danica isn't fully convinced because she remembers better than anyone what Stevie went through and assumes she'll refuse to join them. But Milo encourages Ava to approach Stevie, and together, they walk over to greet her. They tell her they're heading to the mountain to watch the fireworks and invite her to come along so they can all have fun like old times. At first, Stevie refuses since she hasn't finished her work, but she agrees when her coworker offers to handle the rest so she can go with her friends. Teddy then takes them in his car, letting Danica drive, and they enjoy the ride until they stop at a spot to watch the fireworks. It becomes clear Teddy has been drinking too much as he starts joking around in the middle of the road. Suddenly, a car speeds toward him and nearly hits him, but Milo pulls him away just in time, saving his life. Despite the scare, Teddy laughs it off and continues messing around in the same spot, ignoring Danica's warnings to stop. Out of nowhere, a truck comes barreling down the road, swerving at the last second to avoid Teddy. The driver loses control, veers off the road, and crashes into the guardrail, leaving the vehicle teetering on the edge of the cliff. The group rushes to pull the driver out, but the doors are jammed shut. Teddy desperately tries to force them open, while the others hold onto the vehicle with all their strength, trying to keep it from falling. Their efforts fail, and the truck plunges down the cliff, smashing onto the rocks below and exploding into pieces. Shock grips the entire group as they realize their actions indirectly caused the crash and the driver's death. Panic sets in, and chaos erupts among them, with no one knowing what to do next or whether they should call the police. But Teddy reacts quickly and decides to call his father, telling him everything that happened and asking him to contact the police and ambulance. The shock is overwhelming, especially for Stevie, who breaks down and insists that she's the only one who'll get blamed because, unlike them, she isn't wealthy and doesn't have parents who can protect her, while they'll all walk away unharmed. Danica tries to calm her, assuring her that none of that will happen, explaining that the area is already known for frequent accidents. Teddy supports her words, reminding them he already called his father, but insists they must leave immediately before the police arrive and find them there. They follow his lead and quickly head to a safe spot, where Teddy reassures them his father will take care of everything and no one will ever find out. Still, he demands that Stevie, Milo, and Ava swear to keep the secret. They all agree, but Ava, shaken by guilt, walks away from them. A year passes after the events, and Ava returns to town. At the airport restroom, she randomly meets a girl named Taylor and strikes up a brief conversation. Moments later, Milo arrives to pick Ava up, and they offer Taylor a ride since she's headed in the same direction. During the drive, they learn that Taylor is working on a podcast about the massacre that took place in the town back in 1997. Neither Milo nor Ava pay much attention to it, and after dropping her off, they hurry to Danica's house, where she's preparing for her new engagement party, this time to her fiancé, Wyatt, since she and Teddy broke up some time ago. Danica greets them excitedly, with Stevie helping her organize the celebration. Later, as Danica sits in front of her friends opening gifts, she suddenly finds an envelope with a note inside that reads, "I know what you did last summer. Danica immediately panics, her fear obvious, and when the others ask what's wrong, she struggles to compose herself and brushes it off as a cruel prank. She uses Wyatt's arrival as a distraction, asking him to show his guests the latest renovations in the house so she can pull Ava, Milo, and Stevie aside to privately show them the note. Danica admits she believes Teddy sent it, still bitter over their breakup. But Milo questions why she's so sure, and Danica explains that only the four of them, plus Teddy and his father, knew what really happened last year, which is why she suspects him. Ava counters, suggesting it could be someone connected to the dead truck driver. Stevie quickly dismisses the theory, revealing she'd done some digging on the driver. His name was Sam, and discovered he had no living relatives, not even anyone to hold a funeral for him besides the townspeople. With revenge ruled out, they decide to confront Teddy to be certain. Ava, Milo, and Stevie rush to the marina, where Teddy spends most of his time drinking on his yacht. He's clearly miserable since breaking up with Danica, but when shown the note, he swears he has nothing to do with it. He insists he hasn't contacted Danica since their breakup, and that if she feels targeted, that's her problem, not his. He then orders them to leave him alone. That night, Danica is home with Wyatt. She slips into the bathtub to relax her nerves while Wyatt waits for her to finish. Glancing outside, he notices bursts of fireworks-like lights in the garden and assumes someone is setting them off. Curious, he goes to check, but finds no one there. As he turns back toward the house, he's suddenly struck in the back with an arrow and collapses to the ground. Desperate, he tries to crawl away, but the killer fires another arrow, this time piercing his stomach. Wyatt, thinking it's just a robbery, pleads with his attacker, shouting that they can take whatever they want as long as they spare his life. At that moment, a mysterious figure appears, dressed in a long black coat with his face completely covered, his features hidden. He holds a sharp iron hook in his hand and brutally stabs Wyatt, finishing him off. Danica, meanwhile, doesn't hear Wyatt's screams because she's listening to music with her headphones on. When she's done and comes downstairs looking for him, she's horrified to find his lifeless body. On the wall, written in Wyatt's blood, are the chilling words, "You can't erase the past." Later, Danica is seen at the police station with her friends, devastated, while Ava tries to comfort her. Teddy arrives to check on Danica, but Milo steps in and tells him it's not the right time. The next day, Danica and her friends gather to figure out who might be behind everything. They reach a terrifying conclusion. Wyatt's death wasn't random, and this could be revenge aimed at all of them. Still, they can't understand why Wyatt was targeted first, since he had nothing to do with last summer's accident. Ava suddenly remembers Taylor, the girl she met at the airport, who seemed fascinated by the 1997 town massacre. Since Taylor runs a true crime podcast, suspicion falls on her. But if she's innocent, she might also help them uncover the truth. Without wasting time, Ava meets Taylor and tells her what happened. Taylor takes her to the house where the first massacre occurred in the late 90s. Inside, she explains that the killer responsible was called the Hunter, infamous for one of his bloodiest rampages there, where only one survivor, a woman named Julie, managed to escape alive. Julie now lives outside the city, working as a college professor. As Taylor goes upstairs to check if anyone else is in the house, Ava waits below and nervously texts Stevie, telling her she's with Taylor at the house, and that she feels uneasy about Taylor's behavior. Suddenly, the masked killer appears before Ava. At first, she thinks it's Taylor playing a prank, but then Taylor calls out from upstairs. Realizing the truth, Ava panics as the killer attacks her. She fights back, slashing his hand with a knife before he traps her inside an iron cage and goes after Taylor. Taylor desperately clings to an elevator cable to escape, but the Hunter finds her. Despite her attempts to defend herself, she's overpowered. Meanwhile, Stevie arrives at the house, and Ava manages to break free and unlock the door for her. Just as they're about to flee, they are horrified to discover Taylor's corpse hanging by a rope from the ceiling. The next day, the townspeople gather at a meeting led by Grant, who tries to downplay the events by claiming Taylor committed suicide, not wanting to scare off investors. Some locals object, including a man named Ray, Stevie's boss, who reveals himself as a survivor of the original massacre. Ray insists that with 2 violent deaths in just 2 days, the evidence points to one chilling conclusion: history is repeating itself. Grant tries to reassure everyone, promising that the city will take stronger safety measures. Ava, somewhat comforted, joins Milo and Stevie in visiting the city's impound lot, where all crashed vehicles are kept. They want to see the wreck of the truck that went over the cliff last summer, but instead, they discover that the truck actually belonged to a monk named Gil, and that Sam, the driver who died, had stolen it. Meanwhile, Danica and Teddy visit Sam's grave, hoping to find any clue. Shockingly, they see fresh flowers laid on the grave. When they ask the cemetery keeper if they can check surveillance footage to see who left them, the Hunter suddenly appears and slashes the man's throat before he can show them anything. When Teddy realizes the cemetery guard is taking too long, he leaves Danica alone among the graves to hurry him up. Suddenly, the killer appears and chases Danica until she hides inside a nearby building. The killer corners her and is about to drive the hook into her when Teddy shows up just in time, striking the killer and forcing him back. The masked figure flees into the darkness, leaving no trace. Teddy quickly takes Danica somewhere safe to rest, where Milo and Ava soon join them to check on her. Once assured Danica is okay, Milo brings Ava back to his house so they can spend the night together. Later, Milo heads outside to grab his phone charger from the car, but before he can return, the killer ambushes him, strangles him with a rope, and snaps his neck. Using Milo's phone, the killer sends Ava a text, making it look as if Milo simply decided to spend the night away from home. At the same time, Ray pays a visit to Julie, though she is clearly displeased to see him. He scolds her angrily, saying he's upset she pushed Ava into investigating the killer on her own. He warns that Ava and her friends could end up dead, just like their classmates years ago. But Julie remains indifferent, refusing to answer him. The next day, Danica and Ava visit the church and confront Gil about Sam. Gil becomes defensive and irritable when questioned. While Ava distracts him, Danica sneaks into his office and searches through his belongings, finding photographs of Gil with Sam, proof they knew each other. Suddenly, Ava texts Danica, warning her that Gil is heading her way. Danica hides just in time before he enters. After leaving the church, the two rush to the police station to report Gil, claiming he is the killer who murdered Wyatt and Taylor. The officer tells them to wait while he handles things, but instead he secretly calls Grant, explaining the situation. Grant orders him to hold the girls there, not wanting any disruption until the Independence Day celebration is over. That night, Teddy sits in his house drinking as usual. Suddenly, the killer bursts into Teddy's house and attacks him, stabbing him multiple times as Teddy fights back with all his strength. Wounded and desperate, Teddy stumbles away, trying to escape, but collapses to the floor, unable to keep running. At that moment, Grant steps out of the house and is horrified to see his son dying in front of him. He rushes over and cradles Teddy in his arms, but the killer reappears and drives the hook deep into Grant's neck, killing him instantly. Back at the police station, Danica is still with Ava when the officers suddenly release them without explanation. Strangely, all the officers rush outside in a panic. Curious, the girls follow and are horrified to find Teddy and Grant's bodies hanging grotesquely on display. Danica collapses in shock, consumed with guilt, believing she is the cause of everything, since both men she was once engaged to are now dead. Moments later, they discover Milo's car parked nearby. Ava opens the back door and screams in horror as she finds Milo's corpse slumped lifelessly on the back seat. Overwhelmed, Ava breaks down in tears, while Stevie quickly grabs both girls, insisting they escape by boat before the killer comes for them too. Meanwhile, the police arrive at the church intending to arrest Gil and interrogate him about his connection to Sam. But the shocking discovery is that Gil is already dead, his body arranged ritualistically as if part of a twisted ceremony. As they search the place, they uncover a photograph of Gil with Sam, and to their astonishment, Stevie is standing beside Sam in the picture. Back on the boat, Danica, Ava, and Stevie have sailed far from shore when suddenly the killer appears before them. But to their horror, the mask comes off, revealing the truth. The killer is Stevie, their own friend. She coldly explains that Sam, the driver who died in the crash a year ago, was her closest companion, the only one who stood by her side when everyone else abandoned her. He was the one who helped her survive the darkest moments of her life and gave her strength to forget the friends who betrayed her. Stevie tells them that on the night of the accident, Sam had been on his way to find her. He had learned from her coworker that she left with her old friends, and he feared she might relapse if confronted with painful memories from the past. That's why he stole Gil's truck. He was searching for her, but instead, he died at the hands of Danica and her friends. Stevie explains that she didn't even realize Sam was the driver until the news broke the following day. From that moment, she swore revenge because they had taken away the only person she truly loved. The others try to reason with her, insisting it was never intentional, that they didn't mean for him to die. But Stevie doesn't care. She cruelly admits that she enjoyed killing the men Ava and Danica loved because it shattered their hearts just as they shattered hers by taking Sam away. Now she says there's only one thing left to do: finish what she started, kill them, and disappear from the city forever. Suddenly, Danica and Ava fight back, forcing Stevie onto the boat's deck. But Stevie seizes Danica, pressing the hook to her throat. At that exact moment, Ray arrives, having seen the struggle from his own boat and racing over to stop it. They realize he's been watching them all along. Ray pleads with Stevie to let Danica go, but she refuses, driving the hook into Danica's chest before tossing her overboard. In a burst of violence, Ray fires his gun at Stevie, and she plunges into the sea. Ray then pulls Ava onto his boat, claiming he'll take her back to town. Meanwhile, Julie receives a panicked call from Ava, who tells her that Stevie was the killer all along and tried to finish them off. But Ava also points out something disturbing. On the night Taylor was murdered, Stevie was with her, even saving her life, which means Stevie couldn't have killed Taylor herself. Realization dawns on Julie as she pieces the details together, leading to a horrifying discovery. Ray has been Stevie's partner in everything from the very beginning. Back on the boat with Ray, Ava realizes they've nearly reached the marina. As they sit talking, Ray takes off his jacket, and that's when Ava notices the wound on his arm, in the exact spot where she had slashed the killer with her knife during the earlier attack. The truth hits her. Ray is the killer's partner. Sensing her realization, Ray admits it outright. He tells her he's been Stevie's accomplice from the beginning, driven by pity for her after learning what she'd gone through. He reveals that he never killed Stevie at all. The scene where he shot her was staged, part of their plan to make everyone believe she was dead. Their goal was to terrorize the town together. Ava tries to run, but Ray stabs her in the back with a knife. At that moment, Julie arrives, confronting Ray directly. She condemns him for everything he's done. Ray, however, justifies his actions, saying he's been seeking revenge for himself all along. He explains that after the massacre years ago, when all of his friends were killed, the government ignored him. He paid the price, his future destroyed, while the world moved on. Helping Stevie, he says, gave him a chance to finally make the town and its leaders suffer. He apologizes to Julie, but coldly insists he has to kill her too. Before he can strike, Julie warns him he won't have the chance. Behind him, Ava struggles back to her feet and fires an arrow straight into Ray, killing him. At the same time, the waves wash Danica ashore, alive but barely hanging on after Stevie had thrown her into the sea. Sometime later, Danica and Ava are seen leaving the hospital together, both scarred but alive. They walk to the beach, sit in the sand, and share a quiet meal. As they talk, Ava asks what they're going to do about Stevie, now that they know she's still out there. Danica's expression hardens as she answers firmly. They'll have to track her down and make her pay. The film ends on this chilling note.